Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Whole Health Weekly. Sorry about that. I was this one, if you're on my tribe1.substack.com, which you all should be, I didn't put the email out for the reminder of it. Oops. And then I was doing actual first and set up the whole thing. I didn't have the YouTube live going, nothing. Right. So then I'm like, oh my God. And it was like 8:30. So apologize for the lateness of this episode. It was a little later. Usually it's 8:30 on the dot. I always hope for Whole Health Weeklies, where we talk about the latest and greatest news in holistic health. So it's pretty fun night looking at it from an innate intelligence perspective. So a couple things first before we start is I want to make sure that you subscribe to the Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble. If you know what Rumble is, it's an app that is like YouTube. So you download the Rumble app, you get the channel, and then you push the subscribe button. Then I can get up to my 100 that I really am going for. I got like 81. So I keep moving up like one a week. It's pretty cool. I've been doing this a while now. It's been pretty fun understanding that. But the Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble, the Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on YouTube. Now, my YouTube one is growing kind of faster than the Rumble one, which is kind of cool. But either one, yeah, I like both. I kind of like Rumble because it kind of breaks down the videos in a nice, organized way. And you can do, you can see what we talked about. So each one of those is good. The last thing I want to put up on the screen, but it is make sure you're subscribed to this email list. This is an email. You get a newsletter, those kind of things. Tribe1, TRIB1.substack.com. Reason I was kind of behind today is I'm working on some exciting things for my people on here. So I'm pretty excited. Some really cool holistic online courses, really excited about some nutritional blood work that now we can do some really good things with, even if you're not a patient of mine. So it is one of those things where, reaching outside the walls. Speaking of that, there's going to be a little QR code in the corner. Oops, not that. Oops. I'm going to put it up in the top corner here. So the top corner, there's a little QR code, and that goes directly to it's called FullScript. FullScript is a nutritional kind of distribution company. So they have like 35,000 different nutrition, at least supplements in there. The nice thing about it is it's vetted. So like the companies that go in are truly vetted nutritionally. So a lot of times online, you just don't know. But this helps me. And if you go under me, I get to actually communicate with you a little bit on that site. They've added some cool stuff. They've added some really cool stuff in the lab category where we can do some nutritional lab work, which I'm really pumped about. I experimented on myself 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. So 2 weeks ago, got the report with results, all these cool things. And what it does is it's blood work. It's something as a holistic person, if you're watching, you should get your blood work done, but then have a nutritional evaluation done on that blood work. Not just, hey, my numbers are good. That's great. Let your medical doctor do that type of blood work. Now, more, like let's say, hey, everything looks good, those kind of things. This one is more geared towards what nutrition would be the most valuable for you. And so a lot of that, I'm kind of combining that with some of these. I got some really cool online opportunities coming up that we're pretty excited about. And then Rachel has been diving deep into metabolic, changing your body through your eating habits, right? And literally changing your metabolism. So some of the things we've talked about on Whole Health Weekly, it's starting to become something that you can access yourself, and having, like a coach or somebody along your way. And so that's ultimately my goal for anybody that would be interested in that. Because, holistic is really cool. Like there's a constant learning. I always thought it'd be hard to find like episodes and stuff, but it's really easy actually, in the sense of there's so much to talk about in the world. So, and this Whole Health Weekly really lets us get it going. So tonight, what we do is I go through and I find the trends of, the week of this week. Happy 4th of July, by the way, before, right? And then Michigan, thank you for surviving the hottest day of the year, right? One thing I recommend highly to all my patients, I look right at them and say, listen, you don't have to run a marathon. Rachel thinks I'm nuts for this, by the way. You don't have to run a marathon in it, but get your body acclimated to the tougher climates, right? So, getting out into the world of this 95 degrees. If you're from Michigan, 95 is pretty heavy from 78, right? So a lot of times if you get your body's intensity and that acclimation, it can really, really help you. One of the things that can help is when you challenge your body's comfort zone, right? So we want our body to be able to regulate 95. We want our body to be able to regulate -4, right? That is kind of a sign of health and wellness in the sense. So the better you can do those things, the better you age, actually. If you noticed, as people age, the temperature becomes a major, major issue, right? So it becomes where you just don't want to. And the problem is we live in this air conditioning, 72 degrees all the time kind of life. And when you do that to your human body, then your innate intelligence just knows that. So how is the cells of your body, that's the best computer program in the planet, going to be able to adapt in that moment if we never challenge it, right? So I always think of there's a Seinfeld episode where Seinfeld's parents were like, well, we got to get out of we want to get out of the New York winter. I think he lived in New York, somewhere East Coast winter. So they moved down to Arizona. So then they go down to Arizona and Seinfeld goes down there and visits his parents. And he's like, it's so hot down here. He's like, yeah, we just stay in the house and then we warm up our car to make sure the air conditioning's running. Right. So they just changed the extreme heat or the extreme cold for the extreme heat. So I always thought that was interesting because that's human nature, right? Like that's what you want to do. You want to be as comfortable as you can. But sometimes being a little uncomfortable is the way to go. That's why Rachel thinks I'm nuts when I went out to work out today. I was like wanting to be at the peak time. So like at 5:00, that was the high. It was like 95 degrees out. But it makes you feel comfortable later on. So just be careful when you do that kind of stuff. And but other than that, let's get started on the show tonight. So I found some good stuff. We're gonna go through. There's some really interesting kind of things popping up, and I want to go through those a little bit. So this is the latest and greatest. And what we do tonight is we'll go through the latest and greatest in the general health news, right? See if it's, in our holistic perspective, something that we could use or something that's more, more sick care model of things. And then we go into Dr. Mercola. So Dr. Mercola and his latest and greatest on nutrition, right? Or, whatever is coming up in the holistic world. So let us start with, let's go to, this is kind of interesting. I thought this was good. This is a CNN article and it's on Zyn. Okay. So Zyn is a nicotine pouch that they were not sure if it was harmful or not, but it sounds like the FDA made a decision permitting the marketing that claims for Zym nicotine pouches as a less harmful alternative to nicotine, or harmful than cigarettes. Okay. So, all right. So let's read this. This is on a paywall type place. So this is like a CNN article. It is by, let me see the author. It looks like Jonas Ekblom, but okay. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration said Tuesday it would allow Philip Morris to market its Zyn nicotine pouches as less harmful than cigarettes. The agency allowed the company to market 20 variants of Zyn products with the claim using Zyn instead of cigarettes puts you at lower risk of mouth cancer, heart disease, lung cancer. Yeah, that's what I thought. Lung cancer, stroke, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis. Popular nicotine pouch products have been awaiting the agency's clearance as scientists hesitated due to the potential risks of new users, including children. Tobacco companies also have been lobbying the President Donald Trump and other key officials this year for changes they favor include a faster and clearer FDA authorization process. Yeah. So the FDA, in its order permitting the sale of particular flavor variants, said the pouches would significantly reduce harm and the risk of tobacco-related disease to individual tobacco users and benefit the health of the population as a whole. Now, overall, nicotine patches, in my opinion, are a good way to go, especially when somebody's like super addicted to nicotine, right? So we have, and there's various nicotine pouches out there, but sometimes that smoking the nicotine, anything that you inhaling smoke, it's probably not the wisest idea, right? So I had a very long conversation with one of my great patients, and he was a chronic smoke marijuana to go to sleep situation. And I said, like for me, it's number one, marijuana has always been an overblown thing. We're going to find out there is a lot of neurological psychoses that can actually happen with it. But in that same sense, so is alcohol, right? So is a lot of these, as long as it is basically, for me, considered a controlled substance, then I guess to each his own. But one of the things that happens is like smoking, anything like that is going to have an effect on your lungs. Now, the problem is like if it was once, a week or something, then maybe your lungs could have the ability to, replenish and restore. Most of the time, your cigarette users are doing 4 to 5 times a day, right? And because that is, if you think about it, like you get the smoke, you get a lot of that that nicotine substance into your body very, very quickly through like any kind of smoking. Problem is it will cause damage there, right? So it will cause you to have injury to your cells. And that is really the ultimate problem. With nicotine in general, it's very difficult to get off of it, and so that is one of those things that can be something to look at as far as all those go. But it's kind of interesting, the Zyn nicotine pouch. So if you got somebody struggling, see if they want to try that, the Zyn one. Okay. I thought this was good. Where's it at? Oh, shoot. Okay, let me look. Ooh, I like this one. This was in medical news. This is called Medical News Today. It's like a blog, and it was written by Catherine Lang. And it was, June 26, 2020. I'll give you the title and a little of the snippets. Anti-inflammatory diets may lower dementia risk, even in those with early signs. That's pretty cool. A new study has suggested that the anti-inflammatory diet might help lower dementia risk, particularly in people with Alzheimer's pathology. Among the diet patterns, the researchers studied were also the Mediterranean style diet, which showed protective effects only in people with lower baseline levels of Alzheimer's biomarkers. The authors cautioned that this observational study cannot prove the effects of the diet, but reinforces the evidence that diet quality affects the brain health. Okay. So in a sense, in that article, it's kind of been assumed that the closer you get to almost like what they call a ketogenic diet. So a ketogenic diet is meat, fat, right? So it's getting your body into this what they call fat burning mode. So if you think of two different sides of the coin, your body has to eat to create energy. Okay. So when it has two different kinds of ways, we either eat carbohydrates, right? Carbs, doesn't matter if they're good or bad right now. Carbohydrates, your body takes from that food energy. Okay. And so it takes from the food energy that it utilizes. That's fair. Now we go into, there's another process that you can use, and it's called fat burning. So this is where the fat of your body, the adipose tissue, is utilized like it's supposed to be, utilized to burn the fat to create the energy, right, that our body runs on. When you give a body what they call ketogenic diet, ketogenic is more meat and fat related, right? And so with very little carbs. So a lot of times when you look at anti-inflammatory diet, it's kind of leaning towards that meat fat. We have to get to the place where fat is a good thing. Like a good fat is a good thing. Avocado is a good thing. You know, fat, cottage cheese, good, right? There's fat in all these. Yes. Whole milk, it could be a thing. Oh my God. I hope I get this interview, by the way. I may have found a dairy guy. That will be pretty fun. And he's pretty, he'd be a very easy interview. Let's just say that. But we've been told for years that fat was the enemy. We now know that the really good fat is really, really good for you, right? In so many ways. The fatty acids in there, all kinds of stuff, amino acids, gives you a lot of benefit. But what it does is a lot of times it will set your body up for fat burning fat energy. If we rely on carbohydrates, if we just, let's say we're a vegetarian, right? So vegetarian diet, that is a different, it's a different energy source a lot of times. But the problem comes from not utilizing your body's actual level of using and burning that actual fat, right? So you take everything out of the fat burning mode. The reason that happens is because carbohydrates are like a quick energy, okay? So I use the analogy like this. Carbohydrates are like after work to get food, let's say you're going for dinner. Carbohydrates are like going to the fast food line, where fat burning mode is like cooking your meal. The effort and the activity is different, right? So one takes more effort than the other. Your body, innate intelligence, is very efficient. It's super efficient, which means efficiency can be off as lazy. So it's going to take the easiest route to the energy your body needs. And so a lot of times leaning towards that ketogenic diet, leaning with less carbohydrates in that diet, more protein and fat, you start to understand and your body starts to produce just starts to burn the fat at stores like it's supposed to. And so a lot of times you're seeing that. And with good fats and good proteins, we're seeing a lot of good studies that come out that this is really good for brain health as well, because your body is using the cooking method. It's like getting back to cooking, right? Versus the fast food. Fast food, it's ready for you, it's all there. That's kind of how carbohydrates are. And carbohydrates, as far as veggies go, right? So you have carbohydrates that are vegetables, and then you have the processed garbage that we usually eat. Vegetables, at least the body has to work for that energy out of there. So they're not, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Obviously, there's so many phytochemicals and everything else that that is really, really good in all plants, right? But the problem is the other carbohydrates. The other carbohydrates are junk carbohydrates that are made of chemicals. And so, yes, you can burn energy out of those, but it makes it super inefficient. There's a lot of toxicities in there. So the closer you can get to a more natural based diet, possibly if you know somebody that may be having those dementia type things, you start getting them into kind of centering them into like a ketogenic or what they call an anti-inflammatory diet, which there are certain fruits and vegetables that are higher in this anti-inflammatory. So I thought that was an interesting article. There's some good ones in here though. I got to find. I thought this one was really cool. Okay, it is. Okay, this where was it at? Okay, I'm going to go down here just for a second. Where'd it go? Okay. Okay, so this one was good. Oh, okay. So this one is science discovers a surprising link between vitamin C and brain health. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. So this one was, it was printed today. And the source is PLOS, the company PLOS. I'm not sure where that is. Scientists discover a surprising link between vitamin C and brain health. A large new study suggests that higher vitamin C levels are linked to healthier brain structure and stronger brain network connections in older adults. So the summary is, could something as simple as vitamin C help support a healthier aging brain? In a study of more than 2,000 older adults in Japan, researchers found that people with lower vitamin C levels in their blood also tended to have less gray matter. Gray matters, there's white and gray matter in your brain. There's like two sections of that. We can get into that at some point, but gray matter, you want to have good gray matter and weaker connections in a key brain network involved in memory, attention, and cognitive functions. Researchers have found another clue that diet may influence the brain as how the brain ages. In a study of more than 2,000 older adults, people with lower levels of vitamin C in their blood tend to have less. Oh, I just said that. Sorry. I'm trying to find where. While the findings do not prove that vitamin C protects the brain, they strengthen evidence that good nutrition could play a role in maintaining cognitive health later in life. Yes, that's obvious. Okay. That's why I don't like reading the whole article. So sometimes it's, but I'm trying to figure out, I want to see what it's doing. So it's saying basically the vitamin C levels are very connected to structural connectivity between in the neural network. So I thought that was a pretty cool article out of research out of Japan, and that's a big study. For me, I think 2,000 people is a pretty good study. Okay, so I thought that was a good one. All right. Okay, so this one's pretty interesting. This is kind of up in the, okay, where'd it go? Oh, it's all on the same. Okay, I'm learning how Science Daily works here. Okay. 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 I thought this was kind of cool. I want you to, pique your brain's interest in this. So this is sciencedaily.com is where I get this, but scientist discovers a completely different way to fight viruses. So this is done by the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So researchers have uncovered an unexpected antiviral defense system in sea anemones. The little weird looking animals that are sitting on the ground and they look like plants, like living plants. So sea anemones that works very differently than the ones humans use. The discovery suggests evolution developed multiple ways to combat viruses, challenging long-held ideas about how animals' immune systems evolved. The research was led by PhD candidate Tom Sharoni and Professor Yahi Moran at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in collaboration with scientists from University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And it challenges the longstanding idea that animals inherited a single core antiviral system in a common ancestor, and instead points to multiple evolutionary solutions for resisting viral infections. I'll read a little bit of it and then see where we go with this. Viruses have threatened living organisms throughout evolutionary history. In humans and other vertebrates, one of the body's key antiviral defenses depends on a protein called MAVS. When a virus is detected, MAVS helps trigger the immune system so it can respond to the infection. To investigate how old this defense system might be, the researchers studied sea anemones. The ancient marine animals split from the evolutionary line that eventually led to humans more. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's what the science is saying. But anyway, the ancient marine animals split from the evolutionary line that eventually led to humans more than 600 million years ago. Sure, it did. Okay. So, because they are close relatives of corals and jellyfish, sea anemones provide scientists with a valuable glimpse into early evolution of animal immunity. Okay. So, during a study, the team discovered a previously unknown protein they named Cardi B. That's hilarious. That's actually how it's spelled. So, it's Cardi B. It's card inhibitor binding protein. It looked remarkable, similar to the MAVs that we said, leading reason it might be to perform antiviral roles in humans. But it didn't. It should function like this MAVs that turns on the immune system. Instead, it does the exact opposite. Rather than activating the antiviral defenses, it suppresses it. Okay, man, I went too deep. All right. Okay. So in essence, it was saying that even the sea anemones, as simple organisms, essentially have multiple ways to combat antivirus, right? So I thought there was going to be some juice in that, and there wasn't. It was just, oh my God, we evolved. Really? Okay. So that wasn't as good an article as I thought. All right. Let me see another one. All right. Oh, I like this one too, because it's kind of in the news. Okay. But it's about creatine. Where are we at? Where'd it go? Okay. So because creatine's been in the news, this is a June 30th. This is Genomic Press is this thing. So scientists say creatine may help fight depression. Creatine, which is your body produces it, right? So it's a creatine and it's part of creating energy for your body. Okay. So just think of that. So creatine, you've heard it in bodybuilding, a lot of health kind of conscious people. Creatine, one of the problems is there's a lot of chemical laden materials around a lot of the creatine. So the more natural creatine you can get, the better. Okay. So as we're discussing this, the other thing always to remember, just like peptides, just like everything, if your body produces it, should you take it all the time? Probably you would say the answer would be no. So here's what we're going to talk about. We got to discuss melatonin. Melatonin, your body produces, it's a hormone. If I give this melatonin to a child and it helps that child, melatonin is typically taken as a supplement for sleep. If I give that child melatonin every single day to fall asleep, because innate intelligence is so remarkably smart, it sees that melatonin's already being produced. If a melatonin's already being produced, then your body kind of shuts down the activity of creating more melatonin, which can cause you to have an addiction essentially to melatonin and make falling asleep even worse. So a lot of times I will tell people, if you have to do it in very short runs, right? So, and creatine is kind of that same thing. There's no real exception to this. I would say I would really advise not to do it with children at a certain age, because of the addiction of all of a sudden you do gain muscle with it. And the problem is once you do, are you going to actually stop, and work out without it? Okay. So this is the scientific article that promotes taking creatine though. And now that I've put that out there as like the, just cautionary tale, scientists say creatine may help actually fight depression, which is kind of crazy because that's not what it used to say. Creatine could have an untapped potential as a depression treatment, but scientists say the evidence is promising, but not there yet. So June 30th, 2026, creatine is best known as a muscle building supplement, which it does. It helps give energy to muscles, and legit you could supplement and get stronger. There's no question about that, because it makes your body more, I would say, more efficient at having, the rebuilding of the muscle structure, all those things. And it keeps that bloodstream going, right? Creatine's really good in like protein rich foods also, so just remember that. But creatine is best known as a muscle building supplement, but scientists are now investigating whether it could also help treat depression by boosting the brain's energy supply. The new review examined 5 randomized clinical trials, involved 238 participants, and found somewhat mixed results. 2 studies, both involving women with major depressive disorders, reporting that added creatine to the standard treatment improved symptoms, while 3 others found no meaningful benefit. Now, that's one reason I like to look at some of this research stuff, in the sense of a lot of times, like sometimes you got to think of the variables, right? So let's say you did creatine, but you're on more of a ketogenic diet, like what we were talking about before. You have this ketogenic diet that kind of helps that brain, that anti-inflammatory diet. If you didn't change the diet from just the straight, heavy carbs, fake sugars and all those kind of things, you have this high inflammatory diet, then creatine might not be your thing. Now, understanding that, I've seen creatine work. I've seen creatine work really well with a nice balanced an anti-inflammatory type diet, right? Eating great, basically saying eating great and doing those kind of things. And you can see creatine actually do some good. Problem, like before, if you take it all the time, your body starts not producing it. What you want to do is kind of kickstart your body, like boost it, with that creatine, and then step away and let the body create its own creatine. That's the innate intelligence part. That's where people are running into, with GLP-1s, everything else is we take this stuff, your body produces that. Your body then stops producing it because it's really smart, right? It will say, oh, I can be efficient somewhere else. I can make something different. So you just keep taking this, whatever it is, the melatonin, the creatine. Now I don't have to produce as much. So then when you take the creatine supplement away, your body has to allocate resources back to what it was doing prior. So you really can hurt yourself, in a sense, because now your body has to go reform that creatine. And the older you get, the harder that will be, right? Because your body, as we age, the more it has a hard time converting back to what it needs to do. Okay. All right. I think that was pretty good tonight. I thought they were really good. I thought the vitamin C one's blowing my mind. So that was pretty good. Vitamin C for brain health, making sure that's up there. Those little baby oranges. Oh, what are they called? Cuties or something? Man, that's a good thing to just grab one of those back. They're so easy to eat. It's pretty cool. Okay. Well, let's go to my favorite website in holistic, Dr. Mercola. So let us go. Oh, I like this one. This one's just kind of more fun. This is done in June 30th. This is by Dr. Mercola. So Dr. Mercola, if you're not familiar, if this is your first time listening, is a website I like to go to. He is like a big blog, and he's been doing it like 30 or 40 years. Gets like an article dropped a day, if not like 4 or 5 in a day. Really stays up on it, and that's why one of the reasons I want to do Whole Health Weekly, because you see all these really cool articles go by, like on places like Dr. Mercola's website, and it's hard to read all those things or get like a chiropractor's perspective on it. So here's this one. You'll love the title: How long poop stays in your body may impact your health, the study finds. 2 people can eat the exact same foods and end up with dramatically different gut environments, blood sugar responses, and metabolic outcome, all because of one overlooked factor. The amount of time poop, stays in your body strongly influences your gut bacteria, short-chain fatty acid production, inflammation levels, and metabolic health. Researchers have found that slower gut transit shifts bacteria away from carbohydrate fermentation and towards protein fermentation, increasing irritating compounds like ammonia, hydrogen sulfide inside the colon. A simple blue stool test revealed that people with slower transit times had poor blood sugar control after meals, higher visceral fat levels, and less favorable metabolic markers. High-fat diets, slow intestinal movements, high-fat crappy diets, okay? Remember that. High-fat diets, slow intestinal movement, and create a gut environment and okay, sorry. I'm reading this incorrectly. High-fat diets, slow intestinal movement, and create a gut environment linked to constipation, poor energy production, and bacterial imbalance. Your stool texture acts like a gut health report card, and improving movement, hydration, and easier to digest foods helps restore healthier bile transition and a more balanced microbiome. One of the harder conversations that you have to have in all things: how is your poop? Is it going, are we going a couple times a day? Some people are, once a week. I've had a patient with once a month. That's bad. That can't be normal. Okay. And what happens is, and I learned this in chiropractic school, actually. We had a guy who was in biochemistry. His biggest thing is, he was a biochemical teacher. So we didn't know, how much, doctor talk we'd get in there, because you got to do the biochemistry, right? So poop, he would be like, man, make sure you get all that stuff moved out of you. It makes total sense. Your body is creating waste products. So those waste products, it wants to get them out. You wouldn't bring your garbage into your home, right? Once you take the garbage bag out, you wouldn't keep the garbage in your house for longer than a week, correct? Right? So if I got people, not taking the garbage out for a month and a half, you're going to start here, especially with like actual real food, right? That house is going to smell a little different, right? think of that when you're talking about, poop and regular. It is a very overlooked situation when people start looking at their gut health, because some simply don't say anything or think it's normal, right? Oh, it's normal. I do a pea-sized turd once a week. No, that's not normal. There's a lot of things that need to be changing on that, right? And so one day I'll do an entire poop podcast. I think that would be fantastic. It'd probably go viral. But it's one of those where right now you can even look up. They have graphs, right? You have images, Google Images right now. You can look at different poops, right? And see what it kind of tells you. It's a great report card or a diagnostic-ish kind of situation for you going, hey, that doesn't look right, right? Shouldn't be diarrhea. It shouldn't be so solid you can't move it. Okay. So it's in between there, right? A normal flowing turd. That's what you want. So I thought that was a good one. So I saw that one. Okay. All right. Let's do this one because I really, really believe this. This is pretty, I love this story. And at some point, I really want to do like a camp like this. Okay. Scientists say 7 days of meditation can rewire your brain. That's how small it is. Just 7 days of intensive mind-body training produce measurable changes in brain efficiency, energy production, and cellular repair processes. Brain cells formed stronger connections and communication improved, which translates into clearer thinking, better focus, and faster decision-making. The body shifted to a faster energy system, supporting sharper mental performance and improved resilience under stress. Real benefits came from mentally demanding effort, not relaxation, as staying present through discomfort trained the brain to handle stress more effectively. So sometimes you do these meditations in, let's say, an uncomfortable posture, or they try to get you crisscross applesauce and just kind of breathing different is an uncomfortable situation. So a lot of times the more you can stay in that world of direct focus and control, a lot of times you can really change your game. The coolest part of this article is 7 days. 7 days could literally change how your stress goes. And there's so many great tools out there. I think for me, it's one of those that I wish I'm going to look it up and see if I can find it. I had a hard time because he has passed away, but it was one of the best meditation audio things that I had, or I've tried before. But consistent, structured daily meditation sessions can replicate these changes, helping you build lasting mental resilience and more stable emotional control. So 7 days, that's all it takes. Let me look up, see if I can find it before I say anything, because I don't want to be disappointed. And I want to see if it brings up the old book. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't he have a book? Book or audio? See if he's got one. Okay, so I would say there is, so Dr. Wayne Dyer, which is very popular in the, I would say it would be new age, but I wouldn't put him in there because he stays, in the sense of, this is a very Christian thing to do as well. So like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater until you actually read what he, actually does. He has some meditations for manifesting. Yeah, so it's one's called Meditations for Manifesting. It's Dr. Wayne Dyer. And then the other one is Happiness is the Way, I believe. So these are old. He has passed away, so it's been a while. But yeah, yeah, it's definitely the 1995. I think it's Meditations for Manifesting. This thing, the way he puts it together, you can get into that meditation pretty hardcore. So just remember that one, Meditations for Manifesting. I really, when I got into meditation, just to actually be able to understand how this body works, how that control mechanism, the things that I could do, it was pretty remarkable being able to, figure this out. It's, Wayne Dyer, one of the things was I couldn't stop reading all his books. There was something so profound about the power of intention, the understanding of, when your thoughts are so powerful and you begin to have those intentions and then life gets in your way, right? And you can see life going and you can't, it's hard to step back from a lot of those things. But what happened to me was truly remarkable. You could feel my physiology change after, doing the meditations. So I really, really enjoyed it. I still try. I've been out of practice the last probably 6 months of doing it well. Rachel's on board too. Like I just have to, get back on the horse. Sometimes that's how it works. Because a lot of times meditations, working out, all these things really, really connect you to the next thing. I want to move the next, when you become, in this holistic world, your ultimate job is to like create new things in this universe for all of us to enjoy, right? So whatever that is, whether you're a welder, all of these things, it keeps you so healthy in the creation of the world, right? And so sometimes sometimes it just doesn't feel like that is a thing for us, right? It's it's just day-to-day grind, nobody's appreciated, like there's so many different negativities. But what if you create that one thing, right? The one thing that inspires the world, or that one thing that, it changes the life of so many. And so that's where I want you to go. Like Wayne Dyer's books, like he didn't have to write those, right? He had an intention. Yeah, he made a ton of money, but he also created, and he kept creating. He got, you could live on one book. Why did he keep making? That's why, because the production and this ability to do that in this life is the journey. And so if this meditation kind of stuff gets you into that right frame of mind, it's the way to go. Okay. So anyway, 7 days, that's all it takes. Get into meditation, 10 minutes a day. I'm telling you, 7 days, you're going to notice a difference. Okay. All right. We're going to do one more. And then I had this cool one I saw in my email, actually, because we always end on a chiropractic one, if there's any. And I got to see, we got some research out there. Where to go? Oh, wrong email. Okay, hang on. Okay. Yeah, it was this one. Okay, so let's do one more here. This one is interesting because we just introduced a neuropathy plan kind of package at the office. We're pretty excited. We have the capabilities to do so much. It's like on top, it's like a combination of chiropractic and several other therapies that you can come in, talk to us about. If you know somebody with that neuropathy type situation, let us know. It takes a little more effort on the patient's part to get to that new level. But this is a good article for the real burning, tingling of nerves in neuropathy. So this article is this the real trigger behind burning, tingling nerves? Okay. All right. The story at a glance. This is analysis by Joseph Mercola. and it's called geraniol. So that's a new thing. It reverses pain. Is yeah, interesting. GG for short. Reverses pain, gut damage, and mitochondrial dysfunction, possibly in diabetic neuropathy. Researchers have found that a naturally occurring compound called GG or geranyl reduced diabetic nerve pain by 35% in rats. Without even without significantly improving blood sugar control. So it doesn't help with blood sugar control like a berberine or ashwagandha, right? But diabetic neuropathy involves far more than elevated glucose levels because gut barrier breakdown, which is a lot of it. When your gut microbiome is messed up, you have a real high tendency for diabetes, but we haven't connected those two yet for some weird reason. It's obvious, but so diabetic neuropathy involves far more elevated glucose levels because gut barrier breakdown, mitochondrial dysfunction, and chronic inflammation all contribute to nerve irritation and pain sensitivity. This GG improved tight junction proteins in the intestines. So your protectors in the intestines, and it helped reduce the leakage of bacterial toxins that fuel inflammatory stress throughout the nervous system. Beneficial gut bacteria require properly tolerated carbohydrates, fermentable fibers, fermented foods to produce. If you're my Whole Health Weekly, you know this. Hopefully anybody's out there listening, butyrate, right? So remember, fermented foods, that gut microbiome, you're eating this fermented bacteria, creates this thing or helps the body create this thing called butyrate. Butyrate's an active ingredient that protects the intestinal integrity of your gut. Your gut is like a hose. Once that gut microbiome is messed up, then that hose starts to, it's like acid going through getting a leak in your hose. Okay. So daily habits that improve mitochondrial energy production include removing seed oils, restoring healthy carbohydrate intake, restoring sunlight exposure, and improving quality sleep help calm the inflammatory signals that keep nerve hypersensitive. So basically what it's coming to, so this GG is already present in your body. It's found in common foods like fruits and vegetables and grains, and it appears to work on the parts of this problem that glucose control doesn't reach. Your body converts GG into a compound called GG pyrophosphate. Think of it as a molecular building block your cells use to assemble energy machinery, repair membranes, and keep insulin signaling running smoothly, right? Without enough of it, those systems degrade quietly in the background. Researchers have tested whether supplementing with it could reduce nerve pain and restore cellular function. They have nothing to do with glucose control. But they found challenges with some long-held assumptions about diabetic neuropathy, what it actually is. So here's the big thing. The reason I promote our neuropathy stuff is we are going to fix your gut microbiome. That's one of the major things, which in turn will help your intestinal wall, which will in turn allow the neuropathy, because we always think of it in your feet and your hands, the chemicals that create that neuropathy to calm down. And a lot of times when you start to do that on a regular basis in a very consistent, intense way, you can make a big, big difference. So now, with that said, just know that there's an answer for that neuropathy, and we keep doing stuff. 35% reduction with just getting this GG chemical going in the right direction. That's pretty awesome. So my last thing is research from my chiropractic world, because a lot of times, we don't have big pharma money. So it's not like we're going to have a ton of them. But this one was really cool. So let me see if I can get into it. New research examines the relationship between birth trauma, vertebral subluxation, right? So birth trauma can happen, right? Some births are a little more, it can be traumatic. And vertebral subluxation and early infant challenges. All right, let's go to this article. A retrospective review of 145 infants highlights patterns in birth histories, physical findings, and reasons families seek chiropractic care. To 2026, a new study was published in the Journal of Pediatric and Maternal and Family Health of Chiropractic, explores the characteristics of infants presenting for chiropractic care and examines the relationship between birth-related stress and vertebral subluxation and common infant challenges. In the study, birth trauma, vertebral subluxation, feeding dysfunctions, and early infant health challenges, researchers reviewed the records of 145 infants under 12 months of age who received chiropractic care in a Missouri pediatric chiropractic practice. The study brings together the clinical expertise of a doctor named Dr. Andrew Doro, DC, and he's a pediatric specialist, which is kind of weird because all chiropractors can do them. So don't ever think never worry about not asking the chiropractor, right? So if you're listening to me and let's say you don't come to the office or whatever, all chiropractors do infants. There's a ton of chiropractors. If they don't, they might have a reason or whatever, but all of us are trained in it. There are some pediatric chiropractic specialists for maybe some more severe cases or something. But in my professional opinion, I wouldn't wait and have to drive my kid to wherever, right? I would ask my chiropractor and then see how that goes, because it's glorious to watch. Okay. So, okay. So by combining real world patient experience with scientific, the authors are helping advance understanding. Okay, so there's a consistent pattern that has emerged. The research found a remarkable consistency among the infants included in the study. The average age of the infants was just over 2 months, and many presented with concerns that parents frequently encounter during the first year of life. The most common presenting complaint was breastfeeding difficulty, followed by torticollis, very common, especially in a chiropractic thing. You have to think of this as much, much different. It's super light. So, it's nothing that you expect off of like a YouTube video. So please don't be afraid of it. Ask questions. Most of the time in my chiropractic world, when I see a baby, it is like, you're basically touching a computer, key. That's as much pressure as you really need. I would say in this one, it says that the complaints in this study were breastfeeding difficulty, huge one, neck alignment, that baby's, neck balance and upper back balance, and a lot of those different things. You want the baby to freely move that spine around, followed by torticollis, which can happen in some types of, birth issues that can occur, like just a stressful birth. Think that way. You have this beautiful baby, but sometimes the stress of it can get you. Posterior tongue tie diagnosis, colic, acid reflux, or difficulty with tummy time. And these often occurred with histories of prolonged labor, fetal malposition, typically assisted deliveries, or other indicators in the birth-related stress. And so a lot of times, if you've had those prolonged labor, fetal malposition, assisted deliveries, and other birth-related stress, that is when chiropractic is a really, really good option, almost like a no-brainer to get this kid's spine checked, right? The study revealed a congruence among pregnant histories, labor and delivery experiences examining, and the reasons parents actually sought care. Many infants shared common patterns, suggesting that the physical stresses associated with that pregnancy, labor, and birth may influence the development of the musculoskeletal system. It feels kind of obvious, but to put it on paper will be really, really important as we go forward. So it's an important study where you're saying, okay, this could be a possibility that this is happening. So, all right. So that's pretty exciting. I'll keep you guys posted on that. I always like to try to keep this for an hour. Yeah, we'll explore that a little bit more. Make sure somebody that goes through a labored, birth, have a chiropractic discussion. Go to the chiropractor that say, hey, how does this work? It's totally worth your time doing that. So with that said, don't forget Tribe1, trib1.substack.com. You'll get the newsletter of what we talked about tonight. And watch in the future. Should be pretty fun. We're gonna get some really cool things kind of going. QR code in the corner tells you about Fullscript. Fullscript it'll link you kind of to me. It's a Amazon, I call it the giant, nutritional distribution, like where you can just get your supplements like right to your door. And you can kind of communicate with me as well. So I'm really excited about that. It's pretty neat kind of doing this kind of thing. So with that said, enjoy the heat while it's here. Michigan people, what's coming in a couple, not that far away from August. Middle of August, it starts getting a little chilly again. So enjoy it. Test your body. And when people are like, why are you out in this stuff? He's like, I'm improving my homeostasis. Remember that. I'm improving my homeostasis. So with that, everybody, the rest of the week, improve your homeostasis and try some meditation. You'll love it. All right. With that, I'll talk to you next or this Sunday, 8:30. Have a good one.